I'm going to go get a bartending job and take a break. So I get my first big girl job bartending at Red Lobster, 20 years old. And I did that for a little bit. Then I heard about this CNA course in Saline, Michigan. It's like neighboring to Milan. I did that, and shortly after working there, I met my first girlfriend that I was open and out with. Like officially dated. I did the old, have a friend, we stay the night, but we don't ever talk about it the next day. And that's all I'm going to say. So I dated this woman. It was unhealthy from the beginning. She didn't have her kid. And she had full rights. It was just easier for her to let her parents have her and give them like half her check and party like a rock star. She didn't tell me she had diabetes and drank beer every day. She eventually quit her job. I was supporting eventually because we went and got her daughter. And then her brother got kicked out at 17 and he ended up moving in with us. So I'm trying to pay 2 car payments because I had just gotten a brand new car too, and she owed a lot on her car. Pay 2 car payments, 4 cell phone bills, all the house bills, and the back taxes that her grandfather failed to pay, who we rented from. And that's when I got the great idea I'm going to start selling weed. That's never a good idea. So I'm doing that. I'm working all these 12s at this nursing home as a restorative aide, and I start having these horrible panic attacks. Later on, I figured out that I was going through daily DTs. For those that don't know what that is, withdrawal from alcohol. I was definitely drinking liquor every day at this point towards the end of hers and my relationship. 26, 27 years old. She'd put her hands on me when she would get drunk. I remember I retaliated one time and I felt so bad. She was a lot shorter than me, about 5'2". So of course she played the victim and told people I hit her. And our relationship was over by then anyways. I didn't realize this till later on, I had started fooling around with an old best friend. And we broke up. I remember she told me, she was like, Esperanza and I are going to move downstate unless you want us to stay. And I was getting ready for work. And I was like, I wish you would. That would make things so much easier. And honestly, at that point, I had fully furnished the house. Like, everything I had bought. And she was like, please spend this last day with me then, if you don't want to stay together. And I was like, I have to go to work. I don't know what you want from me. I'm not in love with you. And I went to work. Her family went and picked her and her daughter up. And they took, like, half of my stuff, furniture, I'm talking like rollerblades, my outfielder glove, which I'm sure to some, a softball outfielder glove wouldn't be a big deal, but this is like a special order kangaroo leather glove. They just took so much stuff that was mine. This will continue throughout my adult life. So my friends encouraged me to start dating again, right? That sounds like a great idea. I'm an unadmitting, full-blown alcoholic who just got out of a very toxic relationship. And I'm going to make a plenty of fish profile. Well, my friends are. And that's where I met my ex. We went on a date. And I remember my sister and I both had our blind dates show up to our friend Carrie's house at a party. And hers went really well and reverse that. Mine went really well and hers went awful. I felt so bad for this guy. I remember he came up to the woman I was on a date with, and I was like, hey, you girls think you can drop me off? This is a joke. She's ignoring me. So, yeah, we did. But I remember this woman went to my sister and was like, can your sister come stay the night with me? I just want to hold her tonight. And I was like, oh, she's so sweet. I'm so in love. Well, I wasn't in love. I had unresolved issues from the past. I had just gotten out of a relationship that I didn't process those feelings. So sure, let's throw some more band-aids on bullet holes. So I get into this relationship with this woman, and she's insisting I move in with her. She's got 5 kids. Like, we're talking about red flags left and right. But, I'm like, who's got a project? Oh, this looks like it's going to be fun. Our children were horribly neglected. Now, when I say that, they were clean, they had nice clothes, they ate well. Attention, they did not get. This woman had a licensed daycare in her house for 12, 2 assistants, and napped all the time. I don't know what it was, why I fell so in love with her. Until I realized later on that she was super charming in the beginning, and then the gaslighting began. But I was already pregnant with Elise. We used a donor because I always wanted to have a child of my own. I found out I was pregnant New Year's Eve of 2011. So my pregnancy, I had morning sickness the first 5 months. That was rough. But I still thoroughly enjoyed being pregnant. I remember I was terrified for the first time I felt my daughter move, which I knew I was having a little girl, and I remember people would argue with me saying it's too early. I'm like, I know I'm having a little girl. Her name will be Elise Corinne, which it is. So it's about a little over 3 weeks early before my due date, and I'm like, it's about maybe 11 o'clock at night, and I knew I had went into labor. The pain of these rippling contractions. I was pretty thin then too when I got pregnant, and throughout my pregnancy, all belly. So like you could see everything. And like when I had these contractions, you could literally watch the waves down my belly. So after about 4 showers, I told my ex, like, hey, I'm in labor. She took me to the hospital where they kept and observed me for about 10 hours, telling me that I was having Braxton Hicks. And I remember being back there because only one person could be back there with me at a time. And my mom was back there and was like, honey, calm down. Don't swear so much. You're going to scare all the other new moms. And I remember grabbing her saying, Mom, I don't give a fuck who I scare right now. I am in labor. And my mom and my ex insisted I was checked. And sure enough, they were like, all right, you're fully effaced, dilated 7 centimeters. Let's go. Let's do an epidural. Boom, epidural. Now, mind you, my doctor's on vacation, and I had been complaining about upper right quadrant pain in my abdomen for quite some time now. I'm pretty sure I was undiagnosed preeclamptic. And the doctor called like right before I was about to start pushing. And he was like, do an ultrasound because she's been complaining about this pain. I want to rule something out. Change of plans, emergency C-section. So they tie your arms down and pull the sheet up. I remember my ex coming in and saying, oh my God, I just seen all your guts. No, that wasn't helpful. But I remember hearing her cry and then them laying her on my chest, and then everything faded. And I remember a lot of commotion, and I think I heard them yell, she's got to name the baby. So I remember also waking up in this room with this really thick accent Middle Eastern man, and he was asking me questions about the daycare and like if he could get his sister a job. I was getting really frustrated. They had me on a morphine pump, and I had to be given magnesium sulfate, which for the record feels like you're dying. And then I realized he was just trying to keep me distracted because my blood pressure and pulse was so erratic. If I had it any other way, I would have never went there. But again, I was a very broken woman. Broken from the way I was raised, the way I thought relationships should be. I latched on to what I didn't get from my dad and pushed away what I did get from my mom. Therefore, I became my mom, and I sought out female versions of my dad. So, this relationship continues. Mind you, she's a heavy drinker, too. There were good parts. I feel bad that the children witnessed. She was a table flipper, I used to say. Like, she'd get mad, flip a table, and take off and leave me and the kids at home. For hours, not answer her phone. And I have all these sobbing children. And her twins, both autistic. Later on to find my daughter's autistic. And it was super stressful. I'd begin going to treatment. In and out of treatments. And then finally, after about 6 years, we ended things. I struggled, but I wouldn't stop trying to date. Nothing long-term or over 6 months after that, but I dated men, I dated women, I tried to be straight, I tried to be gay, I tried to be bi. All these things that I didn't need because I needed to try to be with myself. So, throughout that time also, I had some more trauma happen to me, which I used to blame myself for, saying I put myself in that predicament, but no. You don't ever deserve for someone to hurt you physically, mentally, or abusively, sexually, anyway. We all have infinite worth. We don't need another half. We need to be whole ourselves and find a whole that'll treat us with love and respect. So, long story short, I hear this place, Bear River Health. Mind you, I'm having like 5 months, 7 months, 6 months, 4 months of sobriety, back to treatment, and my daughter stayed with my sister at first, and then I get petitioned for, CPS gets involved. I'd do well, then I'd fail. They'd tighten the reins. Do well, then I'd fail. They'd tighten the reins. And then I got petitioned for custody of my daughter. So I go to this place, Bear River Health. I did 28 days. Discharged, went and was going to stay with this man in Jackson. And we were drinking within 48 hours. It was over Christmas break. That went horrible. I called every day to get back into treatment. And finally, after 30 days, this amazing woman, Joyce Fetro, orchestrated for me to get there, and I got there. And my first day sober, January 19th, 2019. I did 87 days of treatment. I made a couple friends, but I really struggled to relate to a lot of the clients, so I hung out with the staff. I helped. I remember I would put away the Cisco order for the kitchen woman just to stay busy. I read like over 50 books. I kept notebooks where I journaled and I journaled and I journaled. I did yoga. And for once, I focused on me. I wasn't on the phone all the time. I called my daughter once a day, my mom maybe once a week, and my sister like once every other. I put in some really hard work. I didn't ask for anything from my family. And I really did some soul searching. I had this amazing therapist who I am blessed today to call my friend. And I told her things that I never thought I would tell a soul out of shame and embarrassment. When they say that the little things that you hold on to and how secrets keep you sick, it doesn't matter if you think they're not related to drinking. To me, addiction, and for most, is unresolved trauma. Like other disorders, you're going to turn to something unhealthy when you carry this with you. No one should have to hold on to those things. So I'm getting close to my discharge date, and I remember that morning, this guy came to me that I went to treatment with, and he was already out doing IOP. He was like, "How would you like to work for Bear River?" And I was like, "Shut up." It was kind of a running joke because I did follow the rules. I would remind people like, "Hey, you shouldn't be doing that." Not because I care if you get in trouble or anything like that, but like, what you do here, you'll take with you, and I want us all to succeed. And so they'd call me the undercover staff or cop or whatever. I remember actually as I was doing my coin out that last day, one of the new guys brought me his pass because he thought I was the facilitator. I got that often too. So yeah, I got hired as a recovery leader, and I decided to go to Transitional Health in Charlevoix. I had orientation the next day, and I got discharged Thursday. Thursday night at 6 p.m. Orientation the next day at 8 or 9. I can't remember.